The afternoon sun filtered through the dusty window of Willow's apothecary, illuminating the shelves stacked with jars of dried herbs and brightly colored concoctions. She was humming a forgotten tune as she carefully crushed dried lavender, her movements precise and rhythmic. A soft knock on the door startled her, breaking the tranquil silence. Willow turned, a small smile gracing her lips as she recognized the visitor. It was Gareth, the village blacksmith, his sturdy frame seeming even more imposing under the heavy cloak he wore despite the warm weather. "Gareth," Willow greeted, her tone laced with surprise. "You don't usually venture into the apothecary." Gareth shifted, a knot forming between his brows. "It's about my sister, Willow. Alys she's unwell." Concern etched itself onto Willow's face. "What's wrong with her?" Gareth hesitated. "She's been plagued with nightmares ever since she started working on the new mineshaft. They say there's a curse on the site." Willow's brow furrowed. "A curse? That's preposterous." But a nagging sense of unease tightened in her stomach. Despite her skepticism, she couldn't dismiss the weight in Gareth's voice. "What kind of nightmares?" "She screams in her sleep, talks about shadows and whispers," Gareth muttered. "She's withdrawn, her eyes always searching the darkness." "Take me to her," Willow said, a new sense of determination in her voice. "Perhaps I can help." The blacksmith's eyes widened with relief. "You would do that?" "I would be forever in your debt, Willow." The air hung heavy with a palpable sense of dread as Willow and Gareth walked through the mist-shrouded forest towards the mine site. The trees, stripped bare by the harsh winter, stood like silent sentinels, their gnarled branches reaching towards the sky like skeletal fingers. Willow kept a firm grip on the vial of sleep-inducing concoction in her satchel. The stories of the cursed mineshaft had haunted the villagers for generations, but no one had dared to venture inside. She wondered about the origin of this curse, what might be causing such fear in the hearts of those who had been there. As they approached the mine entrance, the air grew even colder, chilling them to the bone. A foul stench, metallic and acrid, assaulted their nostrils. The sight of the mine entrance was stark, a gaping maw carved into the earth, with ominous silence settling upon the area. The faintest flicker of candlelight coming from the tunnel gave an eerie glimpse into the darkness within. "It seems empty," Gareth observed, his voice trembling slightly. Willow frowned, searching the silent tunnels for any signs of life. "There are whispers of a red gem found deep within, one that's said to be cursed." She paused, feeling a strange pull towards the mine entrance. "But we have to focus on Alys right now." The thought of Gareth's sister, troubled and consumed by terrifying nightmares, was enough to fuel Willow's resolve. "Let's go," she declared, stepping towards the darkness. They descended the narrow, winding shaft, their torches casting dancing shadows on the rough stone walls. The silence was broken only by the sound of their boots, echoing on the uneven path. Willow noted the presence of dampness in the air and the chillingly sharp air that pressed down upon them. Finally, they reached a dimly lit chamber. It seemed almost humanly impossible, with a massive, impossibly high dome stretching above them. In the middle stood a makeshift shelter, woven from rough materials. Inside sat Alys, her pale face gaunt, her eyes staring into nothingness. She was whispering, a constant low murmur that made goosebumps rise on Willow's arms. She noticed a flicker of fear in Gareth's eyes, a mirroring of the despair that resonated in his sister. Willow's hands were steady as she placed a gentle hand on Alys's shoulder. The younger woman's head turned, her gaze finally falling upon Willow. Alys's eyes were clouded with fear and an odd luminescence, a strange red glow dancing behind the pupils. "Alys," Willow said soothingly, her voice low and calming. "I'm here to help you. Rest, it will all be all right." Alys blinked slowly, the red flicker in her eyes seeming to recede for a fleeting moment. "The shadows," she whispered, her voice raspy, as if trying to swallow back a scream. "They're whispering." Willow noticed the tremors in Alys's hands, the way her breathing was shallow and erratic. This was far more than nightmares. She wondered if there was some unknown entity that was affecting the young woman. She needed answers, an understanding of what they were dealing with. "Can you tell me what they whisper?" Willow asked, her voice gentle yet firm. "Tell me what they say to you, Alys. Tell me about the shadows." As if entranced, Alys began to speak, her voice a chilling whisper that echoed through the silent cavern. The words were fragments, unsettling phrases that spoke of darkness and secrets, of betrayal and long-forgotten sins. "The darkness desires release," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Crimsongem trapped in darkness for centuries." Willow frowned, a chill running down her spine. A red gem, trapped in darkness? It matched the whispers of the village folk about the cursed mineshaft. The red glow in Alys's eyes and the uncanny silence they were experiencing both confirmed the presence of something unearthly. This was not merely a nightmare, it was something else, something insidious that was weaving itself into their reality. "Alys," Willow began, gently pulling Alys's hands from her face. "The gem, the shadows, they are not real. These whispers, they are just fears and dreams that are playing upon you." Willow's voice took on a firm quality, soothing but determined, seeking to calm Alys and push back the influence. "We are going to get you out of here," she said softly, giving Alys a comforting smile. "We are going to take care of you." Willow carefully guided Gareth and Alys back up the winding shaft, determined to escape the suffocating silence and disturbing influence of the cursed mine. The air grew thicker with each step, carrying with it a suffocating stillness. The shadows in the tunnel seemed to pulse with a malevolent life, their outlines seeming to dance and writhe in the dim light. Willow found herself distracted, her mind caught in a whirlwind of thoughts. She desperately wanted to believe Alys's nightmares were merely figments of her imagination. But the unsettling silence, the unsettling whispers, and the strange haunting glow in her eyes seemed to indicate something more than fear or anxiety. This had to be connected to the cursed mineshaft and the mysterious crimsongem. As they neared the tunnel's opening, a tremor shook the ground beneath their feet. Willow's heart skipped a beat. She felt a prickling sensation all over, like invisible tendrils of cold energy were reaching for her. The shadow dance seemed to grow more frantic, the shadows becoming more distinct, morphing into ghostly figures that seemed to coalesce around them. And then she saw it, a flash of deep crimson, emanating from deep within the tunnel, pulsed in the darkness like a malevolent heart beating within the stone. Willow gasped as it flickered closer, growing in intensity. The whispers that had been haunting the air now became distinct words, weaving into the air and stinging her ears. "Come closer. Crimson awaits." Gareth noticed the sudden shift, the cold tightening around them and the haunting words in the air. Fear gripped him, yet he stood stoic, protecting his sister from the spreading tendrils of darkness. Willow tightened her grip on the vial of sleep-inducing concoction, ready to counter the encroaching malevolence. The glow in Alys's eyes grew in intensity, pulling her focus into the tunnel's depths toward the menacing red pulse. Willow understood, with a chilling certainty, that something dangerous was hidden deep within that mine. The shadows and whispers weren't figments of Alys's imagination. They were its insidious call, a dark allure beckoning her towards its embrace. The moment Willow stepped back onto the sun-dappled forest path, she felt the chilling grip of the mine begin to fade. She felt the oppressive weight on her chest lighten, the shadows and whispers receding from her ears. They had escaped, but only by a sliver of chance. "Alys," she whispered, concerned, and her eyes widened as she saw the girl's state. Alys stood transfixed, her gaze fixed on the direction of the mine, as if mesmerized by a hidden force. Her eyes shimmered with an intense, unnatural red glow, and the words from within the tunnel echoed on the periphery of her lips. "Crimson awaits." Willow felt a knot tightening in her stomach. She understood. She had known it all along. The mineshaft had touched her, entwining its presence into her mind. A faint flicker of crimson in her vision, an echo of the ominous red glow that pulsated from within. It was an undeniable sign, a haunting reminder of its influence. Gareth stood next to Alys, an unspoken urgency lacing his actions as he guided his sister toward the nearby stream. He looked at Willow, his eyes filled with apprehension, yet hope, pleading silently for her help. "Gareth," Willow began, speaking firmly to ground herself and reclaim the control she felt slipping. "We must get her away from the mine. This is not just a dream, not a nightmare. There's a presence within, a malevolent influence, a dark power that wants to consume Alys. We have to understand it before it pulls us in, too." She had seen a glint of that power in the mine, a pulsing red, beckoning with the promise of answers, of power. It felt strangely alluring, pulling at her curiosity with its unsettling mystery. But Willow knew this power was not for them. She gently took Alys's hand and placed the sleep-inducing potion to her lips. "Rest now, Alys," she said, her voice firm. "We are going to stop those whispers." Willow gazed into the depth of Alys's eyes. It was only when her gaze shifted back from the hypnotic pull of the mineshaft that she saw a glimmer of the gentle Alys within, her worry fading away as she drifted into a slumber, free from the haunting presence of the crimson shadows. "We must stop this. We must understand the source of this power," Willow asserted, as she turned towards Gareth, a resolute gleam in her eyes. "This is not just a matter of Alys anymore, Gareth. It is a matter of our village, our safety, the future, everything that we hold dear. It starts with that gem, deep within the cursed mineshaft. It's a call we can't ignore, and I believe it's a fight we cannot avoid." The urgency in her voice reflected her conviction. They were faced with an unknown menace, one that called to them, to both allure and terrify. The answer to their troubles lay buried in the depths of the mine, within the presence of the crimson gem. This was more than just a nightmare. It was a real threat, a hidden danger. They were caught in its insidious grip, and now they had to decide. Should they ignore its dark allure and turn their backs on this insidious presence? Or would they confront the power of the crimson gem, venturing once again into the heart of the cursed mineshaft, into the realm of the whispers and shadows? "Let's go," she said, leading Gareth to a small cabin not far from the path. She placed Alys on a bed, tucking the blanket around her. "I'll stay with Alys until she wakes. Get your rest, Gareth. We'll need it to face what waits in the darkness." Gareth nodded, and, with a solemn look, headed back towards the village, his eyes reflecting the resolve that matched her own. Willow's hand drifted towards the satchel she had worn on her foray into the mineshaft. Inside lay a small, beautifully polished red stone, its surface pulsing with an almost tangible energy. She had been curious at first, drawn by its uncanny allure. Now, the ruby-red gem reflected not curiosity but dread. The shadows had left her, but their allure remained. This was not a dream she could shake. It was a reality, calling to her, one she had to face.